Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Hey, Couch Jason, can I replace the bench press with weighted chest dips? I have plates having a total weight of 60 pounds and it's not heavy enough for my bench press. Gyms are still close in my area of residence, so I stick to doing home workouts. Can it replace the bench press? No. Do you have any other options right now? No. So, here's what I would say. If that's what you have available, your choices then are to do dips or to not train. Okay? But what choice do you have? I don't think that's a real choice, because every human being on earth should be strength training. Every single person walking the face of the earth. So not training is not an option. Of course, you're going to have to do dips. Now, when we say something like that, though, people will say, are you against dips? No, I think dips are great. You guys see me do really heavy dips. One of my staple exercises these days. Right? I like dips. Can a dip replace the bench press? No. Nothing replaces our barbell exercises. Now, I'm a big fan of weighted body weight movements. Real big fan. I try to get really strong on them, but they can't replace our barbell movements. Also, how are you going to hit maximum strength on a dip? It's very, very hard to safely max out on a dip, so no, dips can't fully replace bench press. Bench press is one of those lifts that we can safely and effectively take to true 1 rep maxes, which is necessary for developing maximum strength. Okay. It's also one that we can micro load. It's an exercise that has a non-ambiguous range of motion. Right? Meaning not that the range of motion isn't determined by maybe some silly standards that aren't necessarily about the joint angles. You know, it's because we touch our chest. But we do have exact ranges of motion. We can always determine when the rep should start or stop, what our range of motion is for the exercise, for consistency, for programming. Can safely max out. Can micro load it easily. We aren't concerned with things like balance, because I can tell you balance becomes a real big issue when you get super strong on dips. This is speaking as someone who does heavy dips regularly. So there's a lot of things that it can't replace. But can dips build your chest and triceps in the absence of a bench? Sure. You need to be doing some other pressing, though. Okay. You got enough 60 pounds of plates, assuming you have a barbell. Right? You better be doing some overhead pressing. That's a good combination. That would actually work quite well. Combine dips with overhead pressing for now, and I think you'll be good to go. All right, that'll last you out till things get opened up. Although it's pretty ridiculous at this point. Any gyms that are still closed, I don't know what in the hell your countries are doing at this point. That's ludicrous. You need to fire whoever your leaders are and get the gyms back open. All right, next question. For novices, is there a significant difference between a 3x5 and a 5x5 for linear progression, full body 3 times a week on the heavy compound movements? Is one better than the other? Why or why not? Thanks. My God, we could spend 17 hours debating that. Pick one. Pick a given program and run with it based upon your recovery. Usually stuff like my 5x5 has not only 5x5s, but a lot of supplemental work in to give you an enormous amount of training volume. A program like that assumes that you have a perfect lifestyle. Okay, it assumes that you are bulking really hard. It assumes you're getting lots of sleep, everything else. If you're not sleeping 8 hours a night and in a very large calorie surplus, like my 5x5 is going to flounder. If you do those things, it'll work well. Okay. A lot of the 3x5 programs, volume is reeled back in more. You can still make really good progress, but it's not going to be as dependent upon heavy bulking. You probably need to be in a surplus to make real gains. Because people forget that with novices. Most novices, unless you're fat, you're going to have to gain significant body weight to maximize your new gains. Okay, you're not going to stay 11% body fat with diamond sharp abs that can cut glass and make any real muscle growth. Okay, you're going to have to bulk. And anyone telling you otherwise is selling you some BS. They're flat lying to you. Or they have never trained in their entire life without using trend. That's usually the only other possibility. They have no concept. They don't coach drug-free lifters. You can tell. It's very obvious. When someone tells you, oh, you don't have to bulk, you can stay lean year-round and make great gains in muscle mass while being ripped. Okay, that is someone who has never coached a drug-free lifter in their entire life. Not one. There's no way that's even remotely imaginable they've ever trained a single drug-free lifter. Their entire client base is mega dosing. Or they're lying. Or they're stupid. So, or all of the above. Now, that being said, 3x5 works fine if you have enough exercise selection. 5x5, we could argue as to the total amount of volume, because keeping in mind, we're talking about 3 days a week on a full body, not an upper lower. 5x5 on some of your big lifts 3 days a week is a lot. It's a lot. The only reason we do that a lot of times for novices is because novices are so weak that they probably can't overtrain. Okay, there's overuse injuries, overtraining, any of that stuff is not really an issue for most novice lifters. Okay, if your 5x5 squat is only 225 pounds, we don't need to have a lot of concern here. Okay, and that's a big part of the difference. But 3x5 is perfectly acceptable. You may need a little more supplemental work, but 3x5 tends to work really well if you're going to throw some extra supplemental stuff in. All right, quite workable. A lot of my guys do 3x5s, even my advanced guys. Okay, next question. Is there a certain 1 rep max percentage where you put a belt on, or do you wear a belt for the first warm-up set to the last working set? I put a belt on as soon as I get past an empty bar. Now, some people would say, why are you scared of hurting your back? No, I can squat 500 pounds without a belt. No problem with that. I can walk in and deadlift 500 pounds without a belt. Those are not problems. Not a safety issue. We don't wear the belt on these big lifts for safety issues. We wear the belt to get higher neuromuscular efficiency and a radiation effect. We wear the belt to get tight, stay tight, to help with bracing our core. We wear the belt for more total core and abdominal activation. Now, let's come over to the other point. Why do we warm up at all? What? Why do we warm up on lifts? We don't, if you're coming in and doing a jog to warm up to do weightlifting, you're an idiot, and you probably don't need to be coaching or training other people. You have no idea what you're doing. It's absurd. Utterly absurd. We warm up to get into the groove of our movement pattern, to practice our movement, to prime our nervous system for that movement pattern. Okay? Gives us much better form, gives us better neuromuscular efficiency, all of those things. Are you doing the same exercise if you take the belt off? In other words, let's say you're going to come in and try to hit a 500-pound squat. Most of you, that should be your goal. Good benchmark. If you do a 135, 225, 315, all of that without a belt, you did a different exercise. The bar path is going to be different. Center of gravity is going to be different accordingly because your core bracing is going to be different. You're basically doing a variation. You're doing a different exercise. You did not practice the movement that you're about to try to hit 500 with. You did a totally different movement. You wasted your time. Okay? Your warm-up should look like your maxes. And if you're not wearing a belt, your technique is going to be slightly different. Right? Put your belt on. If you're doing belted training, wear a belt. In fact, I advocate wearing a belt for most exercises. It has nothing to do with, oh, you're going to have a weak core, bro. I promise you my core is stronger than 99% of you. Nothing to do with that. We wear a belt because it makes us stronger, helps us brace better. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.